Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. For today's second video, that takes us around the 30th of July, and we'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles, which run to a couple of weeks. We'll have a look at the CFS V2 as usual for the next month at the end of the video. The weekend forecast has been released, so that's your detailed weekend look at, and it's a pretty interesting weekend forecast as well. It's going to be getting a lot hotter in the week ahead. And there's a risk of thunderstorms breaking out later in the week as well. So more about that in weekend forecast. We will touch on a lot of that for this second video update, of course, which I'm going to get on with very shortly. Just say that CFS 6-month look ahead is going to be released tonight. So it's going to take us from next month, from August right way through to January 2020. It is just to have a bit of a laugh at it. So that'll be with you around 6 o'clock this evening. Right, we'll begin by having a look at the radar picture then. So some really heavy showers now across the eastern side of the country. You can see these bright colours running down the east coast from eastern Scotland into northeast England. It's at weather outlook, by the way. And then there's another line of showers here through parts of Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, and into the north and east Midlands. Now carry on, shunning southwards. Let's have a look at the lightning detector. So we have got lightning flashing away there through parts of Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, and down into the Midlands as well. Also storms around this southeastern coast of East Anglia too. So yeah, some big showers just sort of flirting with that east coast there. If you zoom in a little bit more to these storms through the East Midlands, well, these showers or storms through the East Midlands, you see there are some very, very vibrant colours in there, some very intense colours indeed. I mean, you got sort of a pink and purple shading on these radar images. That tells you we have got some very, very intense showers indeed, and of course there's more of them up here across northeastern parts of England as well, and there's some pretty intense rain towards the east coast of Scotland too. So it really is in the east that I've got these downpours this afternoon. They're going to carry on through the rest of the afternoon and into the early evening before sort of fading away, dying out overnight tonight. It's a cooler, fresher feel across the country today. So this is from xcweather.co.uk. This is the latest temperature observations. So we are up to 25 Celsius still in one location, and that's Lakenheath Royal Air Force Base over in East Anglia, but overall most places are kind of like low 20s today. So Oxford Airport, for example, at 20 degrees, up into Midlands Church Norfolk is at 20 degrees. Around London it's still pretty warm. Heathrow is at 24, London Gatwick is at 20, London City Airport is at 24. Lowest temperatures are out in the west. Poor old Senny Bridge there at just 14 degrees, and the same for Aberporth. So the coolest temperatures out in the western part of the country, Tulloch Bridge up in western Scotland, 15 degrees. Eastern Scotland in Dundee, you're at 22. So it's warmest in the east. Of course, that's where the energy is still left for these heavy showers to break out, whereas it's a bit cooler in the west, but we don't have as many showers. If you enjoy a cool, fresh summer feel, then make the most of today and tomorrow, I suppose, because the heat really will be building as we get through into next week. Central temperature is currently looking like this. Provisional from Hadley for July. I haven't got highlighter, so I've just got to get that set up for you. So the CET is provisional. It is subject to change, and at the end of the month we do tend to get a bit of a reduction normally. Very rare that it goes the other way and they increase it at the end of the month. Normally they shave a few tenths of a degrees off, and I hear from the Weather Outlook Forum that we are likely to see quite a big reduction in the CET this month. Apparently it's running around half a degree above average probably, so could get quite a big reduction at the end of the month. Anyway, at the moment it's sitting provisional up to the 19th of July. It's sitting at 16.8, I should say. That's around a degree above the 61 to 1990 average. Bear in mind, that's running around half a degree above average. So if you take that off, it's probably around 16.3 or 16.4 in reality. Now, of course, this is going to get a real push up through next week. So it certainly is going to get into the 17s through the course of next week, 17 Celsius CT. If the heat goes on a little bit longer, we may actually see this going into the 18s. We may see this going into the 18 Celsius bracket for the CT. But I don't think we'll end up there. I think we will get a reduction at the end of the month that will take us back into the 17s. But in terms of the provisional numbers, we might see that going into the 18s. Our summer forecast always suggested the possibility that we'd have a CT of around 17 Celsius, somewhere around the 17s for July, after a relatively cool and unsettled start. And then the peak of the temperature we thought would occur in August. And in August we did in fact go for an 18 Celsius CT probable for this August, making it the hottest August since 2003. So at the moment, the summer forecast does seem to be performing quite well, I think. I'm quite happy with the way the summer forecast is performing. But of course, August is the most difficult part of the forecast because it's been a very, very long time since we had a genuinely hot August. We haven't had a genuinely hot August since 2003 with a CT into the 18s. So it was a very, very sort of bold forecast and didn't have great confidence about it, but we will get that hot August. But anyway, at the moment, for June and July, the whole summer forecast is on track. It's doing exactly what we thought it would do this summer up to this point. But with the caveat that, of course, we've still got August to go, which is the trickiest part of the forecast. Right, these are the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts from the Penn State University for the next week to 10 days. We've got the ECMWF on the top, and the GFS, which we'll have a look in a moment, is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 80,000 feet, is an area in the atmosphere. High pressure, low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream running above. Red extrapolates high pressure, blue to low pressure. Now, look what the ECM is doing in the 7 to 10 day time frame. It's continuing with this ridge of above average heights to the east of the country and connecting back into high pressure over pole. There's a trough in the Atlantic just there and going down towards Spain. Therefore, the flow of the jet is going something a little bit like that. And the upshot is the ECM is keeping us pretty warm, even you would say hot, keeping us hot up to sort of days 8, 9 and 10. You'll see it in a moment. That scenario is drawing in the winds, continuing to draw in the winds up to to days 8, 9 and 10 from a south to southeasterly direction. Now, for the first time in a long time, we have also got the GFS on the bottom. So this is the 500 millibar height anomaly flow chart for the GFS for the next week to 10 days. Notice it's much further east with that ridge of above average heights. It is there to our east and northeast, but it's further east and northeast compared to the ECM. And we have this trough of below average heights just out west of the UK, which is a very subtle difference, but it is quite an important difference because it places us in more of a west-southwesterly flow in days 8, 9 and 10, and that is a cooler, fresher, but also rather more unsettled flow as well. So the ECM certainly wants to continue the heat wave into into days 8, 9 and 10, whereas the GFS wants to end it rather more earlier around sort of Thursday in the coming week. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles. That's 2 weeks. We're looking at London today. So red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for London. At the moment, we're around average from tomorrow. The temperatures are on the up, though. So by the time you get through to the middle of the week, look at that. We're peaking the temperature, or spiking the temperature, we should say, really, at a little bit above 20 degrees at 850 HPA. That's very hot for the upper air temperatures, and could well be enough, if there's plenty of sunshine and dry weather, will be enough to get us into the mid-30s Celsius, mid-90s Fahrenheit through the middle of the coming week. After that sort of peak in the temperature just there, we see that temperatures are lowering. So the way this happens is there's a little bit of disagreement though. You'll notice the way this white line, which is the ensemble, sort of drops and then levels off a little bit for around a day and then drops again. So some of these ensemble members are dropping the temperature very quickly from that peak. They're doing something a bit like that with a very quick and dramatic drop. Other ensemble members, though, are just lowering the temperature gradually over a couple of days and then have quite a big drop. So those ones are probably extending the heat a little bit through to the end of the week anyway. But all ensemble members, by sort of next weekend, all ensemble members are back to average, really. So there's a little bit of disagreement about how quickly it cools down and how suddenly it cools down the second half of the coming week. But eventually all ensemble members do get back to that cooler weather by next weekend. And after that, keeping it relatively close to average with those upper air temperatures through into the opening days of August. Precipitation-wise, heavy showers around town, as we've already established. Once today's out west, going to be mainly dry to the middle of the coming week, and then these precipitation spikes just here are, of course, associated. These ones just here are associated with the drop in temperature from the peak of temperature, and so those are sort of breakdown precipitation spikes. Probably most of them indicating thunderstorms and sort of thundery rain. After that, actually, it looks like the first week of August has got a bit of a drying trend appearing, so maybe going drier through the first week of August. Temperature anomalies from the 20th to 28th of July, very significantly hotter than average, not just in the UK, but through most parts of Europe. Actually, it's going to be a very, very warm week coming up for most parts of Europe in the week ahead. Precipitation anomalies for the northwest of the country, a bit wetter than average. That's primarily down to heavy rain we've got coming up tomorrow and lasting into Monday in the far northwest corner. Otherwise, England and Wales looking close to or a little bit drier than average, although the southeastern corner is coming out a little bit wetter than average, probably due to thunderstorms, I would have thought. Excuse me. So this is how things are looking on Tuesday. We have an area of high pressure sitting across central parts of Europe on Tuesday with low pressure in the Atlantic. The squeeze of the air masses is what's pushing up wind from a southerly direction. Is originating from North Africa and drifting northwards out of North Africa up into southern Europe and then on into central and northern parts of Europe. That's Wednesday. Again, low pressures to our west, high pressure to our east. We're still continuing to draw up those hot southerly winds. That's Thursday. Battle continues. High pressure is centred to the east across southern parts of Scandinavia and going down into Germany and Poland. Low pressure is in the Atlantic. Squeeze of the isobar still maintains that wind from a southerly to southeasterly direction. There's the upper air temperatures on Thursday. Very, very hot upper air temperatures for England and Wales. So 20 degrees at 800 HPA. If there's enough sunshine, will typically get you to mid-30s. So typically get you to 34, 35 degrees Celsius. Over France, I suspect some places will be going to 40 degrees of these upper air temperatures. That's 105 Fahrenheit. So this is another really, really hot spell of weather that's coming up for the west of Europe. And this time, unlike late June, when we only had one day of it, this time the UK is going to have more days of these very high temperatures. Now, by Friday, we saw it on the height anomaly flow chart. By Friday, the GFS wants to break the Atlantic through. So here comes the push of cooler, fresher air by Friday in from the Atlantic. Probably a thundery breakdown is introducing that cooler, fresher air, so probably thunderstorms pushing across the country. There's the upper air temperatures for Friday. Look at how the heat is being shoved off to our east over the other side of North Sea, and we're going into those much sort of yellower colours rather than the reds, which means temperatures are cooling down. The weekend looks like that, so a lot cooler and fresh with the upper air temperatures. Quite a bit of high pressure close to the country weekend, so I don't think the weather will be too bad next weekend. There should be a reasonable amount of dry weather on offer, but temperatures will be quite a bit lower. Into the following week, going up towards day 10, looking a little bit unsettled, I have to say. That's how things are looking at day 10, which is Tuesday the 30th of July. Rather showery and a little bit on the cool side as well. Into extended range, going through the first week of August, we get this little bit of a ridge building from the west, so that settles things down, at least for a while, brings a reasonable amount of dry weather through the opening days of August. Temperatures probably pleasantly warm rather than anything excessively hot. By the very end of the GFS run, it's time to pull in some cooler and more showery conditions from the northwest, but that's a very, very long way out, of course. GM looks like that. Well, here comes the heat on Tuesday. The winds are in from the south, and we're pulling up those hot southerly winds. Bit of a thundery scenario suggested for Wednesday. There's the upper air temperatures for Wednesday. Look very hot, so there's going to be a lot of energy available potentially to fuel thunderstorms on Wednesday. Thursday, low pressure is starting to break through from the Atlantic, so a little bit quicker with the breakdown with the GM compared to the GFS. The GM is breaking things down 24 hours earlier than the GFS is, really. So even by sort of midnight Wednesday to Thursday, we are actually starting to shove off the hottest of the upper air temperatures with the GM, so very progressive with the breakdown. By Friday, we're well and truly into that cooler, fresher westerly flow. The heat has been removed and pushed into central parts of Europe. And then the extended range with the GM looks like that. It goes rather slack, but it's staying unsettled really up to the end of the month, which is up to the end of the run, which is the 30th of July, which is almost the end of the month anyway. And it suggests further showers, if not some longer spells of rain and cooler temperatures as well. Now, this is the ECM. We know this is going to, out of the big three, this is going to be the hottest. We know that from the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts. This is Tuesday, so the heat really starting to build from the south on Tuesday. That's Wednesday. Looking a little bit thundery. And actually, at this point on Wednesday, it looks like it's breaking down. I suspect there is thunderstorms around the country like late Tuesday into Wednesday. There's the upper air temperatures. They're looking hot at midnight on Wednesday. But unlike the other models, actually what the ECM does, it pushes that low pressure back westwards into Thursday. So there is probably thunderstorms around the country sort of late Tuesday into Wednesday. But actually Wednesday probably turns drier and hotter. And those dry, hotter conditions then last to the end of the week. There's the upper air temperatures for midnight on Thursday. 20 Celsius isotherm is covering much of central, southern, southeastern. Very, very hot indeed. That's Friday. Still no push from the Atlantic, you'll notice. So the heat with the ECM, the heat wave, continues into Friday. Exceptionally hot upper air temperatures in the far southeast corner on Friday. That Saturday hasn't really brought much of a push from the Atlantic. What's happening here is that some sort of trough, it could be quite a weakish trough actually, is sinking down across the country, introducing somewhat cooler air, somewhat fresher air, but really we're still under high pressure actually at this point. The upper air temperatures, although they are lowering a little bit, they're nowhere near as low as the other models are by Saturday. The other models have things much cooler and fresher from off the Atlantic. The ECM definitely is extending the heat out, particularly in the east and southeast, extending it out to the weekend. And we're going to extended range with the ECM, and it just looks like by day 10 it is beginning to turn a little bit more volatile. There could be heavy showers or storms starting to break out then by day 10. But even at that point, the upper air temperatures are still very warm, and the heat is only just over the other side of the English Channel. I suspect the ECM was a hot outlier with this, but it does show that the potential is there. If that push of cooler air and the thundery conditions doesn't occur from the west around Thursday, if that doesn't come off, then we could start to extend this heat wave into next weekend. It's a low risk that we do that, but the risk can't be discounted. These are the scenarios that are on the table from the ECM Ensembles for day 10, which is the 14th, which is the 30th of July. We have 14 members of the ECM Ensembles. This is from the Icelandic Met Office. 14 members of the ECM Ensembles, including the operational and control room. The control room is the room we're just looking at. 14 members with above average heights sitting to our east, below average heights to the west. They're drawing up, still drawing up, generally quite a hot air from the southeast. Another 14 have us with much more of an Atlantic push, so they're bringing in westerlies, and obviously they're a lot cooler and fresher. 10 with high pressure just centred to our east. They'd be drawing up pretty warm winds from the south as well. 8 with low pressure to our north. They're bringing in cooler air from off the Atlantic. And then 5 are also looking quite a bit cooler. They've got low pressure out to the rest of Ireland, high pressure across France. More of a southwesterly, but certainly an Atlantic type flow would mean that they are cooler and fresher. So, I mean, we've got 14 there and another 10. So that's 24 that look pretty hot at day 10. And then we've got 14 and 8 and 5 that look rather more Atlantic driven and therefore cooler and fresher. So it's the ECM Ensembles by day 10 are favouring slightly an Atlantic cooler fresher push, but there are a significant number, 24 out of 50, a significant number, albeit a minority, but it is a significant number of ECM ensembles that are keeping or trying to maintain the heat up to day 10. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got. This takes into start of August. This takes us up to 360 hours away to the 4th of August. So you have 27 members of the ECM ensembles with above average heights out to our west. They'll be bringing in a wind from a west-northwesterly direction. Relatively dry with those. The Atlantic is blocked off, but temperatures will be a little bit on the lowly side. There's 16 with above average heights extending from the Atlantic through the UK and into Central Europe. The jet stream shoved off up to the north with those, so they're the warmest, driest option. And then there's 8, it's a minority option, but they're hinting at northern blocking around the North Atlantic and up towards Greenland, and a trough of below average heights, low pressure underneath it. So I haven't seen that for a little while, but that will be very unsettled and cool scenario with those 8. Finally, we have CFSV2 is looking for the next month. So these are 500 millibar heights broken down into weekly periods. The first weekly period takes us from the 20th to 26th of July. The coming week has above average heights to the east and below average heights to the west, and therefore we're bringing up a very hot southerly wind. There will be some very high temperatures indeed in the week ahead. That's how week 2 looks. It's the 27th of July to the 2nd of August, all changed, below average heights then, singeing in across the UK and west of Europe, above average heights pulling into the middle of the Atlantic and drifting away to the northeast. Jet stream going something like that. So thundery breakdown follows the heat wave, and we turn things cooler and fresher for the closing days of the month. Week 3 is the 3rd to the 9th of August, so low pressure up towards Greenland, Iceland, also covering central parts of Europe. It's above average heights up towards the north of Scandinavia, so it's a very messy picture. I expect we're probably bringing in pretty warm easterly winds there, and maybe a little bit on the thundery side too. And then we finish up with week 4, which is the 10th to the 16th of August. And it looks like high pressure is building towards Scandinavia. I've got a big area of high pressure building up towards Scandinavia. Low pressure is being pushed back towards Greenland and Iceland. And I reckon that will be bringing in very warm, maybe hot east or southeasterly winds. If there is an undercut of the low pressure around Greenland and Iceland, if the jet stream starts doing something like that, then you're going to have a classic battle taking place where Atlantic air meets hot continental air, and that could be a recipe for thunderstorms too. Really long way off that though, and I think the sort of the thing that we continue to look at, what we continue to focus on, is next week's weather. How hot will it get? how long will the heat last, and will we get widespread thunderstorms breaking out? At the moment, this looks pretty good for the convective potential, so not been a terribly good summer for thunderstorms for most of us. So we're overdue a proper thundery spell. We didn't really get all that much widespread thunder last summer either. We are overdue a classic thundery spell. This could be it, but as we saw from the ECM ensemble, from the ECM operation, I should say, there is the chance that this thundery breakdown around Thursday could fail, and if it does, then the heat could extend out to next weekend. And if that happens, then of course there's no particular thundery breakdown either. We just maintain really hot conditions right way through next weekend. So we shall see, and we'll keep you up to date with all of the developments over the coming days at Gazweather with this hot weather and potential for thunderstorms. Don't forget to check out Weekend Forecast, and of course later on this evening we're going to have CFS 6 look ahead tomorrow. So no autumn analogues tomorrow. We've taken this week off with the autumn analogues to get things together for the first winter update, can you believe? So no autumn analogues. They'll be back a week tomorrow. But we have got the Gazweather Sunny Round tomorrow, and we'll have a look at the ECMWF, Meteo France and DWD seasonal models taking us through the next few months. That will be later on tomorrow afternoon. Right, at 25 minutes though, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.